There are places in this world that feel wrong. Places where the air is heavy and the silence isn't empty but full of something waiting. This is the story of one such place. It wasn't marked on any map as dangerous, not in the way a cliff edge or a deep river is. Its danger was different, insidious, seeping into your bones the moment you got close. People whispered about it, of course. Stories passed down, hushed tones around campfires or over fences, tales of things seen, things heard, things felt. Most dismissed them as old wives' tales, folklore spun from isolation and fear of the dark. But some knew better. Some had felt the pull, the strange invitation it seemed to extend. It called to the curious, the brave, or perhaps just the foolish. It promised secrets, history, a glimpse behind the veil, but it rarely gave anything back. Only took. Getting close was the first step into its world. The sounds of the outside faded unnaturally quickly. The wind seemed to die, birdsong ceased, even the buzzing of insects fell silent. A profound quiet descended, broken only by your own heartbeat, which seemed to pound louder than it should. The air grew colder, not with the bite of winter, but a deep, unnatural chill that settled deep within you. It felt like stepping into a void, a place where life struggled to exist. The cold wasn't just a temperature, it was a presence, a heavy blanket pressing down. It clung to you, a damp, penetrating cold that no amount of clothing could ward off. It felt ancient, like the cold of the grave itself. This was the place's greeting, a silent, chilling welcome that warned you to turn back. Few heeded it. The feeling of being watched began subtly, a prickling on the back of your neck, a sense that eyes were following your movements, though you saw nothing. It grew stronger the deeper you ventured. The feeling intensified, becoming a certainty. You were not alone. Something was observing you. It wasn't just watching. It felt like it was studying you, learning your fears, your weaknesses. A predatory gaze from an unseen source. You'd spin around suddenly, expecting to see something, anything. But there was never anything there. Just the oppressive silence and the deepening cold. The feeling was relentless, a constant pressure that frayed your nerves. It made you jump at shadows that weren't there, question every sound that wasn't made. It was the first layer of its psychological assault, making you doubt your senses, making you feel vulnerable and exposed. Then came the sounds. At first, they were indistinct, just at the edge of hearing, like distant voices carried on a non-existent wind. They were too soft to make out words, just a low murmur that seemed to emanate from the very air around you, a disquieting hum that vibrated in your skull. As the haunting progressed, the whispers grew clearer. Still not distinct words, but the sound of voices, sometimes multiple, overlapping. They seemed to come from the walls, the floor, the empty spaces. They were never loud, but they were persistent, a constant, unnerving presence in the background of the silence. Sometimes they sounded like pleading, sometimes like anger, sometimes like something utterly alien and terrifying. They were designed to unsettle, to confuse. They were the voices of the place, or perhaps the voices trapped within it. A chorus of the lost, the angry, the forgotten. The physical manifestations started small. A door found ajar that you distinctly remember closing. A chair slightly out of place. Things easily dismissed as forgetfulness or coincidence. But they escalated. Objects would fall from shelves with no apparent cause. Doors would slam shut with violent force, echoing through the unnatural quiet. Footsteps could be heard pacing in empty rooms above or below you. Heavy, deliberate steps that sounded like someone walking with purpose. Sometimes, you'd hear the distinct sound of something being dragged across the floor. A heavy, scraping noise that made your skin crawl. These weren't subtle anymore. They were undeniable proof that something was actively manipulating the environment. Something with a physical presence, even if unseen. It was making itself known, asserting its power over the space and over you. It was no longer just watching, it was interacting. The feeling of the unseen watcher intensified. It wasn't just watching anymore. It felt like it was close. Right behind you, just out of sight. The cold spots became more defined, localized areas where the temperature plummeted drastically, as if something icy had just passed through. The air would feel thick, heavy, making it hard to breathe. a suffocating pressure that felt like being submerged in something dark and viscous. Sometimes you'd catch a fleeting movement in your peripheral vision, a shadow that wasn't cast by anything, a flicker of darkness that vanished when you turned your head. The whispers would sometimes coalesce, forming a single guttural sound or a chilling sigh right next to your ear, a breath you couldn't see. The place was no longer just haunted, it felt alive in a terrible, malevolent way. It was gathering its strength, preparing for something. There always seems to be a peak, a moment when the veil thins completely. For those who stayed too long, this night inevitably arrived. The activity would reach a fever pitch, every door slamming, every object crashing, every whisper screaming. The house itself seemed to groan and shudder. The cold became unbearable, a freezing agony that felt like it was freezing your very soul. The pressure in the air was immense, crushing. The feeling of being watched wasn't just behind you, it was everywhere, surrounding you, pressing in from all sides. Then, the sounds would stop, an abrupt, terrifying silence even deeper than before. The air would become utterly still. And in that silence, in that crushing stillness, you would feel it. The presence. Right there. Tangible. Overwhelming. Utterly terrifying. Those who survived the encounter rarely spoke of exactly what happened in that final silent moment. Some couldn't. Some wouldn't. They left the place forever changed. The cold seemed to follow them, a lingering chill that no amount of warmth could dispel. The feeling of being watched never truly left them. A constant paranoia, a sense that something had attached itself to them. They would hear faint whispers in the quiet moments of their lives, sounds that only they could perceive, a reminder of what they had faced. The place itself remained, silent once more, waiting. Its energy depleted perhaps, but never truly gone. It had left its mark, not just on the building, but on the minds and souls of those who had dared to enter its domain. So if you ever find yourself near a place that feels wrong, a place where the silence is too deep and the air too cold, heed the warning. Thank you for watching.